Hello, my name is Mark Hufford, and I'm with My Attorney Podcast, and today I'm here with attorney Rickey Strong. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you for having me.
What was the journey of how you decided to become an attorney?
It's a little bit of an unconventional journey. So I'm sure everybody has their own story. Mine is kind of unusual. I grew up in a family in Macon, Georgia, where I was the first person to actually go to college from my family. So the idea of actually becoming an attorney actually never even dawned on me. It was just kind of a thing, I knew nothing about what lawyers did, except, they get people out of, bad situations, but I didn't know what a lawyer did. So when I was an undergraduate in Tallahassee at Florida State, the irony is my current law firm, which is Howell, Buchan and Strong, in which I'm a managing partner of, I actually was a runner for the previous incarnation of this firm. During my undergraduate years as a runner, I would run things to the post office and stuff like that, make coffee, make copies and things of that nature. And so while there, I kind of started to learn what it is that an attorney does. And it kind of was like, it just kind of snapped in my head, like, I can do this. These are complicated situations, complicated cases, but nothing that I'm not grasping, nothing that's going over my head like this is way too complicated. So even then, I still did not go to law school. After I finished undergraduate, I went to Mercer University and I got my master's in business, international business per se, because I wanted to spend the summer in Europe. So I got to do some international travel through that program. And then at that point, once I came back with my master's in international business, I decided, I'm going to go to law school. I'm 24 years old. And I thought, if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it now. So so I applied to the Florida A&M University School here in Orlando, Florida, which attracted me because they had a part-time program. By that time, I was 24, 25 years old. I was already working full-time. There's no way I could go back to being a full-time student because I have to earn a living and I have bills and things enough. So I liked the school because of that. I was able to go to law school part-time at night and work full-time during the day. And so that was kind of my journey as to becoming an attorney. It was kind of a weird little story there, that how all this came to be.
So what areas of practice does your law firm provide?
So if someone asks me that on the street, I usually tell them that we are primarily a healthcare-based law firm. So, we represent a lot of doctors, nurses, therapists, anybody that works in the healthcare profession. We also represent nursing homes, assisted living facilities, healthcare clinics, anything that pertains to healthcare. That is what we do. But we also do a lot of other professionals like real estate agents. I represent agents before the Florida Real Estate Commission, the Florida Appraisal Board, the Board of Cosmetology, the Board of Barbers. If there's a professional license, my firm has more than likely represented someone before that particular professional board.
So I understand that you get a lot of cases that are referred to you from other firms. It must be gratifying that other firms entrust you with the experience and dedication you have to justice to handle cases that they're not familiar with.
Yeah, it happens quite often. The funny thing about being in this practice for as long as I have, and I've come across so many people throughout the years that know what I do per se and what my firm does, is that sometimes there are complicated situations that pertaining to a doctor, or there's a clinic in Tampa or in Miami, or there's a nursing home or an assisted living facility that's got an issue. Most attorneys know enough that they don't know enough in this particular area. And so I get phone calls, even on my personal cell phone, at least, once a week or so, from an attorney saying, hey, I got somebody that I need to send to you because I know this is not within my scope of practice. And many times I'm able to help them out, whether it be an administrative complaint that's filed against this particular person or facility, whether it be a contracts dispute. Because my firm, we also do, we write and review medical contracts between medical professionals. If a physician has a contract with one of the major hospitals, we either edit or try to, if they're looking to break that contract, or if they've been terminated for some reason, we do litigation of those types of cases as well. So yeah, it is very gratifying that to know that within the state of Florida that we're one of the prominent firms that do this type of work.
So, what is your primary service area geographically?
We actually service the entire state. So we have 5 offices located throughout the state. We're headquartered in Tallahassee, which is our main office, but we have offices in Orlando, Tampa, Sarasota, and Cape Coral. So we try to make sure that we have an office at least somewhere local. If you're needing to, come into an office and speak with an actual attorney about your particular situation.
I understand that you conduct seminars throughout the state for other attorneys regarding medical professionals dealing with criminal issues.
Yeah, so what happens is if you are working in the medical profession, if you're a licensed person, let's say if you're a doctor or you're a nurse or a physical therapist or a dentist or whatever the case may be, or if you also just so happen to work in the healthcare industry. So there's people that do billing, there's people that do maintenance, there's people that do administrative type stuff within a facility. You have to be level 2 background checked in order to work in healthcare, because Florida is one of the most regulated states when it comes to healthcare, because a lot of people are retired in Florida. So we have to have a lot of regulation in order to make sure that our elderly citizens are getting the proper healthcare that they deserve when they move to the state. So what we have found in our practice is that a lot of criminal defense attorneys are typically not aware that there's this whole other set of statutes that govern medical professionals. And so what happens is a medical professional or somebody that works in healthcare will call our law firm because they have a criminal situation that's either still pending or was already been settled and in the past. But the state agency for healthcare administration or the Department of Health has told them that they can no longer work in healthcare because they've got this past criminal situation. So a lot of times I found myself trying to go backwards to see if there's a way that we can undo that situation, if possible, or if we can't, how can we best present their case to the state, to the Department of Health and or to ACA, the Agency for Healthcare Administration, to get them what's called an exemption for disqualification. So there's a whole process, there's an application, there's information that has to be provided to the state in order for them to be granted an exemption to be allowed to go back to work in their particular profession. So that process in itself can take a little bit of time because we have to actually go get the criminal records. We have to go back and get, if there was parole, if there was, whatever the case may be, we have to go get records that all of that information has been satisfied, all of the fines, the fees, and all those things have been taken care of, because if not, you're actually not even going to be qualified to actually apply for an exemption for disqualification to allow you to go back to work within your profession. So a lot of criminal attorneys were not aware that this thing goes on. And so I had a physician a few years ago that had gotten into a criminal situation, signed a plea agreement, and his criminal defense attorney was not aware that all of these other statutes were out there. And suddenly he had to close down his medical practice because of the plea deal. So that's kind of where this came to be. So one of my law partners and I, we have done CLEs throughout the state, from Jacksonville to Orlando, Ocala, and we have taught CLEs about these specific statutes that said, hey, if your client, please be sure you ask your client what type of work they do, because it makes a difference, not even just for the medical profession, but if they're in any kind of other profession, if there is a criminal situation, if they are convicted or they agree to a plea to a specific crime, it may actually, inhibit them from actually earning a living the rest of their lives. So we've gone out, throughout the state and taught many attorneys to ask your client what type of work they do first. If you're in the position in which you can actually manage a plea agreement and work with the state attorney on, the type of plea that they're actually going to sign, if they're going to sign, if they offer a plea agreement, because it can definitely have a detrimental effect on their career if they sign a plea agreement to something that's going to affect their license.
So you handle a lot of cases involving medical professionals, and their licenses. What about other professions and their professional licenses?
Yeah, absolutely. So we have not actually taught seminars on specific professions, But I do give the caveat to ask, what type of work did this person do? Because if this person is a real estate agent, or if this person is a licensed insurance adjuster or something else, there's definitely going to be a set of statutes that actually regulates their license as well. So if there's a plea, again, if there's a plea or if there's a conviction of a particular crime, yes, it definitely can affect their work. It could affect their profession. So again, in our CLEs, I don't go into those specific areas because obviously we only have an hour to do a CLE, but I do touch upon that. The emphasis of just asking them, because even if they're not in medical, if they're in some other profession, there's probably going to be a set of statutes that govern their particular license as well.
So if somebody wants to get a hold of you and your law firm, how do they do that?
So we have a really good web presence, I would like to say. So we have 2 websites that are available. We can be contacted through either of the websites. We have a form in which you can submit your information. We offer free consultations, no obligation. Send us your information, tell us what type of license you got, what type of situation you have. We'll be happy to call you and set up a conference with either of our attorneys. If you're lucky, you get me, and to talk about your situation, and hopefully we can be there to help you out.
Well, thank you for being with her today. It was very informative.
Thank you for having me. This is really good, and I'm very glad that to be here to answer questions.